Thank you, Dolph. I want to thank Steve Sheets and the committee for honoring me this way tonight. It's wonderful to see so many people from my hometown. Dolph said that on his flight in, he talked to a woman on the plane saying, well, what is famous in Altoona? What's Altoona famous for? For each city has something well known. And obviously, the woman said to him, well, it's the Horseshoe Curve. But anyone who is born and raised here knows that when you're away and you come back, there's one thing that Altoona is famous for. And today, my family, my brother and my sister and uncle and cousins met and had power lunch at Texas Hot Dog. Dolph mentioned how much he loved basketball and how much it's his life. And I didn't know there was anything else when I was growing up. It was everything I lived for. My first memory was being taken to the Jaffa Mosque to be able to watch the great Maurice Stokes play for St. Francis, and from time to time to be chosen to play in a special 10-minute game in intermission. One time I was playing in a game, I was 8 or 9 years old, outside somewhere, and I was invited to play at halftime, so I hurried up, got my father to drive me to the Jaffa Mosque, went into the locker room and changed. And then I realized I forgot my shoes. But that didn't matter. I went out and I played, I had a hell of a time, and I was sliding all over the court, but I just had to play. And this feeling continued for the rest of my life. I had to play. And when you love something that you're doing, you can be playing poorly, you can be disappointed, but you just must play, and you have the discipline and the desire and the love to just keep playing. I began in junior high school at Roosevelt with my teammates, Dick Leipold, John Myers, and Dave Costello, and under Frank Mastercola, and we spent the next 6 years together, and it was a wonderful time. Frank ran us like crazy. We were exhausted after practice. So Dick had, I think, a 1935 Lincoln, and Dick and John and Dave and I would get in the car, get a bite to eat, and go outside Altoona somewhere to a little town and play all night. And on weekends, when we were free, it was Saturday night to go out, but we pooled our money, rented a gym at a church, and played all Saturday night. The next major event was my senior year. I was being recruited to go to colleges, and I pretty much decided going to Dolph's University, NYU, but Jack McCloskey and Dick Harder invited me to come down to a weekend at Penn, and I got to Philadelphia, and I went to see the Palestra for the first time in my life. The television didn't carry the games. We didn't know the rest of the world so well. We were pretty well insulated. And I got to the Palestra, and I couldn't believe it. It was 9,500 people every night. This night there was a doubleheader and a Big Five game. And in halftime I met McCloskey, and I wasn't going to leave. I had to come back to graduate, but I couldn't wait to get there. And then began 4 wonderful years at the University of Pennsylvania, and with wonderful success. And in that period, I began to see the world. In 1965, I was invited to play in the Maccabiah Games, and I went to Israel. And I was 21 years old, and it was the first time I saw anything outside the country. And it was wonderful. And we played against 20 teams from all over the world, and you meet people who have the same interests, the same love. They speak a different language. They have different perspectives, and it's the most magical thing. It's a common language. The Brazilians are speaking their language, and we're speaking ours. But I remember one time I was watching the Brazilian team play, and there was a wonderful player, and they didn't have much money, and his shoes were taped up, and they were playing the game. He was about my size, and after the game, I just went over, and we couldn't talk, and I told him to come with me, and we had all the equipment. We were a well-sponsored team, and I had an extra pair of shoes, so I gave him a pair of shoes. And we said thank you, but we couldn't talk anymore. But the next day, I come back to my room, and there's his warm-up uniform, 2 pounds of coffee, everything else he had. It was unbelievable. He was so taken by what I had done for him, and I gave him his warm-up uniform back, and I was happy to take the Brazilian coffee. And this is the kind of experience that you get all through your life as athletes. It's a common thread between us. After Penn, I played in the Eastern League a little bit. I spent some time with 2 NBA camps, and then I played in one U.S. international team, and we toured all over Western Europe, and we played the national teams of Russia and Czechoslovakia and Spain and Italy. And this was fantastic because there were 10 or 11 other players from all over the United States who I'd never met before, and all wonderful players. And we got together so well, and we had this feeling to win for our country, and it was no longer how many points you scored, or it was just to win, and you play the Russians, and we get excited and nervous before the game, and we play the Czechs, and we root for each other, and it was wonderful, and I did this for a number of months, and the next year I went to Belgium, and I played for a Belgian team for a while, and that was another experience. Before coming here, I went to the International Basketball Federation in New York to remind myself of some of my own records, and I saw that what I had said, between 1966 and 1969, I held a record that stood until 1983, that I had thrown the ball away against more European teams than any player in the history of the game. 3 years ago, I was traveling in South America, and after Brazil, I decided to stop in Montevideo, Uruguay. And although I'm not 42, I'm 47 now, but thank you. Anyhow, 3 years ago, I pulled into a hotel, a nice hotel in Montevideo, and as I was checking in, I looked in the restaurant, and I saw a group of obvious athletes, I mean, big, young, 20-year-old players, Hispanic, but there was one 6'8" black American with his wife and two children who stood above all of them, and it looked like Orlando Woolridge, just powerful. So after I dropped my clothes in my room, I came down, and everyone was dispersing from the table, and I went over and I said, "Are you playing ball here?" He said, "Yeah, I'm living in Argentina, but one of the teams in Uruguay hired him for the last month of the season to play for the national championship." So we talked a bit, and I say 20-some years ago, I played in the Eastern League and in Penn, et cetera, et cetera. And we said goodbye. And the next morning, there's a knock on my door, and he said, "Look, it was Thursday night. Tonight, tomorrow night, and if we don't win these two, we have to play Sunday, but it's a 2 out of 3 for the national championships. And on the days of the games, we always go to the stadium at noon for a shoot-around. Why don't you join us?" Before he finished the sentence, everything was packed. I was downstairs, and I went with the team. I stayed with them 3 days, and we had shoot-arounds, and we had competitions, and it was wonderful. It reminded me of what I'd missed so much. It's the camaraderie about the players. You go to take a shot, and you get a little, someone touches you in the stomach, and you forget about these things, but these are the wonderful things about playing. And what I didn't think about was, here's another country I didn't throw the ball away in. So with this country, I might have kept my record alive a little bit longer. Anyhow, thank you very much for this honor. I'm very happy to be back here to see my friends, and thank you again.